Hi, guys. Well, from gorgeous springtime in Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, we're going to be talking about gender and religion and how religion doesn't really get gender.
Well, and not all, even us non-religious people don't get gender
Fair enough.
in the new ways. So it's about coming to terms with the new ways to think about gender.
These new fanfangled.
All these kids these days, and they're not knowing what gender to, and I gotta use a
How
pronouns.
dare they not have a binary understanding of gender?
Learn your pronouns. Meh. What's wrong with what God give you?
Well, Dan,
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that's happened in Vietnam.
Well, I want to talk about that too.
There's a bunch of monks.
My mom's in Vietnam, like right now.
Seriously? Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that fun?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Maybe she knows. Maybe she's
experiencing
first-hand
whatever
experience.
you're talking about. She's experiencing it as we speak.
Vietnamese authorities have ordered the monks at a popular Buddhist pagoda to stop some practices.
Uh-oh.
They're doing this. They're doing bad karma eviction.
Oh.
This is a practice of these monks.
Okay. I get what you're
this,
saying. For a second, I thought that what you were saying is they were incurring upon themselves bad karma by evicting people.
No, bad karma. They're casting out bad karma.
Right.
They're helping
doing
people
exorcisms
get rid of their bad karma
of bad luck. Sure.
The Vietnamese authorities have looked into this,
Okay.
and
Good.
they have found that the rituals are a scam.
What?
This is literally they're like,
I am outraged.
I don't think they're actually doing that.
What? Boy, wait until they get to
problem is-
Christianity.
Here's the scam.
Okay.
Here's the scam. The victims of this of these monks
Yeah.
have paid up to $19,000 to cast out their bad karma.
Okay.
Right. They would the monks would hold these like about 3 times a month. They would have these 2-day ceremonies where they would remove bad karma. And they would summon wandering souls.
Do they start by smudging? Is that what they?
Very possible. Very possible. But all through these 2 days, they would demand donations, right?
Yes, of course.
Because the donations represent a good deed. And this helps make up for bad deeds in previous lives,
Brilliant.
curing their bad karma.
It's Osteen. They're just doing an Osteen.
But apparently these amounts are at a level that people have been doing installment plans.
Amazing.
They've had to go and get bank transfers in order to get the money to the monks so that they could be cured. The public has just been outraged because these monks are they do a lot of victim shaming.
Of course they do.
Or victim blaming and whatnot. For example, there was a fairly high profile case of a woman, a 20-year-old college student who had been taken hostage and raped by 5 men for 2 days before she was killed. And there was a speaker who was associated with the pagoda who said that she was gang raped because she had committed evil acts in a past life.
Oh my God!
Right.
Wow.
So there's that kind of stuff. There was also let's see. There was a monk who told a woman who was distraught over losing her only child, "It's your karma. In a previous life, you were a witch."
Oh, Jesus.
So,
I think that what we've learned over the course of doing this podcast for as long as we have
yeah,
is that it doesn't matter what is preached by the religion.
Uh-huh.
If the religion is practiced by human beings,
Yeah.
the likelihood that it will turn awful goes to 100%. Over time,
Yeah.
something awful will happen. You know, violence will definitely occur.
Oh, yeah.
It will definitely go to awful. It's 100% guarantee.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
All right. There you go.
But, you know, if you want your karma cleansed, get ready to pay.
Sometimes you just, need a good little soul rinse.
Oh,
type
yeah.
thing, right? Like just.
Oh yeah, we should start a business.
Clean
You and I,
out.
we could make some money.
No, soul rinse was actually a term in my gender studies class in
What?
in college.
What?
No, they were talking about sort of how our language lacks good words to describe certain experiences that women. If women made the language, there would be different words because they have different experiences. So this is very gender studies, right?
Yeah.
And so they said that there's a type of crying that men typically don't do, right? And it's called a soul rinse.
Oh,
Right? This is
men tend to do more of a spin cycle.
a soul spin cycle.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Soul
A
rinse.
soul rinse.
Okay, well,
Anyway,
I apparently need to. We'll talk about that in the latter part of the show.
Yeah.
Once when we delve into gender.
Sure.
I am going to. I decided that my first story would be just to make you happy, because
Okay.
it involves
Well, that's nice of you, Dan.
it involves polling and survey data, and that's your favorite thing.
I love it so much. Tell me, Dan. Tell me.
And as anyone who listens to this show frequently will tell you, polls can be good for us. They can be bad for us.
Yeah.
Hooray for this one. This one's very interesting. Some new analysis of the newly released General Social Survey has led to an interesting conclusion, which is that those offering none or no religion as their answer to what religion are you? Mm-hmm. Now, nuns do include plenty of people who still believe in God, and you know, plenty of people who are spiritual but not religious. This is just people not associated with a specific organized religion or religious organization. Nuns are now statistically tied or on top of the entire pile.
Shut your face.
Nuns are now basically the big top three categories, if you can call them that, are evangelicals. This is in the United States, of course, not the world.
Okay.
Evangelicals, Catholics, and nuns.
Dan,
Yeah.
we're winning.
And the trend line, if you look at them, the trend line of the other two seems to be going down.
Oh, no.
Some.
No.
Not
Oh,
not
that's too
dramatically.
bad.
But the trend line for the nuns is just inextricably.
Well, yeah. Because who wants to have to go do all that crap?
Right. One of the interesting things, I'm looking at a graph here, and one of the interesting things is that mainline Christianity, mainline Protestantism, back in the 80s and 70s was at the top of the pile. Way up there, 30% at one point in the 70s.
Wow, okay.
It has dropped precipitously and crosses the nuns line. Pretty much like their trajectory is down in the way that the nuns line is up. One could say that there is a likely correlation there. So that's interesting.
Wow.
Although in this most recent thing, mainline Protestantism had an uptick, had a really interesting little uptick. But there,
This is a blip. Doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I tend not to think that. I tend to think that, like, 1 year's 1 year's data doesn't really mean anything. It's trend lines that are important. But
that's
yeah,
fantastic.
nuns. it doesn't show any sign of slowing.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it seems to be accelerating, and that makes sense in part because when our generation kind of stopped going to church, then our generation stopped teaching their kids not to go to church. So we Gen Xers have a bunch of millennials who are not going to be churchgoers as well.
Right.
And it rather than the religiosity self-perpetuating, non-religion is now perpetuating itself.
Right. Yeah, I read this article the other day, really more of an opinion piece I just stumbled upon.
Sure.
That I think it might have actually been in the Tribune, because I remember thinking, I need to respond to this because this is just unfounded. It was this little op-ed thing. This guy was talking about how, because after millennials, you have Gen Z.
Sure.
Right. Because technically millennials were supposed to be Gen Y, but that didn't stick. So you have your Gen Z, which they're now the 18, 20-year-old-ish kids and younger. And they he was talking about how they were so clearly going to be the ones that sort of come up and sort of save religion in America. And I was like, do you know any 20-year-olds?
Yeah, right.
Have you ever talked to these people? Like, yeah, they have a different shift in sort of their values that, like, every generation has sort of like some little thing that's unique and interesting about them. But like,
well, maybe that will be that generation's big rebellion is that they'll go back to.
I think religion. That's almost exactly kind of what he was saying. And it was like, but if your claims are so unfounded, and you're not basing this on fact or reality.
Right.
You're just sort of hoping that that there's going to be some sort of generational backlash, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, man. Like, not going to church is so awesome.
It's just
like, I don't know why, if that's how you grew up, that you would go and seek out church.
Well,
I mean, people are silly, but
well, and also I will say this: church has its appeal. Like, I get that they're like. And for people who weren't raised to have, for people who are sort of innately more prone to want an authoritarian sort of feel to their lives, and they weren't raised with that, they were raised, in some sort of permissive hippy-dippy sort of way or whatever.
Right.
I can see them going and church having its appeal. It's just that also you have to believe a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Well, what's interesting is that it used to be that I've seen a few articles that have talked about how people. It used to be that young people, because everybody points to it and goes, "Well, it's all young people that are leaving the church," and young people usually they come back to the church once they have their family and when they have kids and they get married, they come back to church.
But that doesn't stop seeing that.
That doesn't seem to be happening anymore.
Yeah,
or at least not in the way that it used to.
Yeah,
it used to be that like. You had your Rumspringa time, and then when it you sowed some wild oats, and then you came back to the church.
Right,
you were a good church person after that.
Nope. Well, Dan, this sort of dovetails with your poll.
Okay.
This is, but of course, there's also other trends going on in the world that are leading to. Lifeway Christian bookstores.
Oh, the best store in the church in the state,
announcing that they are going to close all 170 of their stores.
What?
Yep.
What?
This is let's see. 2 years ago, Family Christian Resources shut down all 240 of their.
I remember
stores.
we reported on that.
Let's see. In 2013, Cokesbury bookstores closed all 38 of their retail outlets.
Wow.
Lifeway is planning to pivot toward an online only sort of model.
Do you know where the Lifeway store in Salt Lake is?
Yeah, it's down on State Street by the mall, isn't it?
Next to the Hooters.
Well, the Hooters closed, didn't it? Or did they move?
I don't know.
Oh.
But
Really?
all I remember
It's right
is
there?
like driving past and going because of that association.
Probably why they wanted to be there.
Right.
I'm gonna do some ministering.
Save all those poor sinners who like wings and boobs.
Yeah. I did not know until this article that Lifeway, because I was aware of Lifeway, I didn't know that they were so closely tied to the Southern Baptists.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, it's a tight affiliation.
Oh, interesting.
So much so that they avoided sort of books that were contradictory to kind of Southern Baptist ideals and mores and whatnot.
None of those Catholic dirty books.
Well, actually, they didn't stock like prosperity gospel books, which I'm like,
No Osteen, huh?
No Osteen would have been there, and no accounts of visiting heaven are kind of generally prohibited.
So like,
is interesting.
So like near-death experience accounts.
Yeah, all this like woo-wooey spirituality.
I'm a 7-year-old boy and I saw what Jesus looks like. Sort of things.
All that kind of stuff. It had to be pretty closely tied with the Southern Baptist worldview,
right?
But it was also other followers of other denominations often shopped there. Lifeway was trying to. They knew they were in trouble, and they were trying to kind of change what their brick and mortar operations were in the last couple of years.
Right.
They started sort of creating bigger spaces for community, like events,
right,
and whatnot. Like they were trying to host more community events.
Sure.
They were trying to be more of like a hey Baptists, come and hang out,
right,
kind of thing. And it just didn't work.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's really sad. I mean, I don't want anybody, like, whenever there's a big closure like this, it means people are having to go find new jobs and whatnot. And that's always a bummer.
That is a bummer.
For just the person. But, I mean...
But this is good. Like, the most annoying store in the neighborhood is gone now, so that's nice.
You and I went there once.
Oh, yeah. I've been to several Christian stores. I remember my favorite thing is when they have a please pray for me. Like, you can fill out a prayer form and drop it in the thing.
Yeah.
Which I always would fill out. And I wouldn't want to be a dick. You know, it's not like I'm going to write like, fuck you, religion's stupid or whatever. But I would fill out a prayer form that just says, please help my brother Jim find a new boyfriend or what. You know what I mean? Like, pray that... Just something like that where it's like maybe they catch it, maybe they don't. I don't know.
And then everybody's unwittingly praying for something that they never would approve of.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh God. What will God do if he hears that prayer?
I
being
think
prayed for by somebody who's not going to normally pray for it.
Make his head spin.
He might just have to do it.
He maybe.
I didn't know that Janice had a gay brother. Well, I like Janice.
Well,
she's been helping out down at the Lifeway for so long.
You say he might just have to do it, but you never know. Every now and then he hears one too many of that kind of prayer, and he just drowns the whole world. You can't tell what's going to happen.
My God is a flippant God.
He's temperamental and murderous and okay. Speaking of God and stuff, which is kind of the theme of our show, so that's an easy transition almost always. We recently had, if you're a Catholic, you recently celebrated Ash Wednesday.
Oh yeah, and not just the Catholics.
No, other people do too.
Yeah. A lot of mainline Protestants do it.
Sure. Catholics are often the ones that actually do the ash cross on the forehead sort of thing. I've heard from many a Catholic that it's an annoying thing because they leave a lot of them leave the little smudge on their forehead all day long.
Oh, absolutely.
They
have to. It's a sign of their devotion.
You're right. Exactly.
Show it off.
But it's also like the thing that the whole day they just get you've got a little something.
What did you bump into?
Do you know that you've got a little? Yes, I know. I'm Catholic. I actually did that to somebody one time because I didn't realize it was Ash Wednesday.
No,
and it wasn't a cross. It was just clearly a not careful priest did this cross.
Right.
And I was like, "Oh, you've got stuff on your forehead." And she was like, "Oh, it's Ash." And I was like, "Oh, right. I guess yesterday was Mardi Gras." Which is why I don't remember anything. No. Anyway, there was usually that's the most that's the worst of the of this is just sort of people constantly telling you you've got something on your forehead. But
it's just such a cross to bear. Makes me really understand Jesus's plight.
well,
little bit more.
usually it's not. That's the worst of it. However, at St. Augustine's Catholic High School, in somewhere in the UK,
Oh,
it was more than just that.
okay.
As a number of kids, hundreds, were exposed to chemical burns from the ashes.
No.
Yeah. Including a couple that like literally had to go to the hospital to be
What?
treated and
No.
had lasting visible scarring on their heads from
What did they do? What did the priest do?
well apparently they got the okay, so I know that here's the thing. Ash is not hard to come by. Burn anything and you get ash. But literally apparently they sourced their ash from some company.
Yeah, that's what you do.
No, you make your own ash.
You got your religious services. Sort
Yeah.
of the same place you go to get your little goblets for all the wine and
Right.
whatnot. They got
No.
little vials of ash.
No, they
Palm
got
ash, isn't it supposed to be like?
yeah. I think there's a
a very
tradition
specific
for some
kind
of
of
it.
ash
It's like
it's supposed
it's
to
like
be.
you save the palm
Fronds.
fronds from Palm Sunday,
Uh-huh.
and
you burn it.
You dry them out for a year,
yeah.
and then you just burn that, and then
And you make some ash.
make some ash goo. Maybe mix it with some Vaseline so it sticks. I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Okay, all right.
But apparently they sourced their ash from a priest from the Diocese of Birmingham, which sourced it from a company in Aldridge,
Okay.
and apparently they got the good stuff. They got the potent ash. They got the real
God's
like
love was really present.
uncut like pure shit. Or maybe it was cut with like
Lie.
so yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
So like the school had to start like the school apparently gave they immediately had to call out and say, everybody go wash your foreheads off. Everybody get it off. And so they had to wash off their foreheads because a couple of kids like got it real bad.
Oh my god.
I want to know what the state of that priest's thumb looked like
Doesn't have one anymore.
after doing a couple hundred of
It's
those.
just a bone.
Yeah.
Just gone. All the flesh is gone.
That's right.
Oh no, that's terrible, Dan.
Yeah. So watch out for
Without
don't you can't you can't just trust your priest to come up with good ash.
Well, now a couple of these kids, it sounds like that they have an enduring sign of their devotion,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Year round, they have a cross on their forehead.
There you go.
Look at them.
There you go.
What
See,
a blessed child.
what right?
Oh.
I mean, it's so godly.
Sounds like that was actually the Lord's hand. It's
Yeah.
like, this one's special.
You know what?
This one's special.
I am
want
going-
him to
I am going to burn my love into their face.
sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Oh my God. All right, Dan.
Yeah.
London, Ontario.
Sure. I
Up
know
in-
it well.
Up in Canada.
Yes, indeed.
Apparently they've been having some problems with people violating the city's nuisance bylaws.
Oh,
And or I guess they've just sort of been a nuisance. They've been out in public.
There have been
and
nuisances.
They're just being nuisances.
Stop.
And so the city's like, you know what? We need to work on this. We need to sort of redefine what is acceptable
Yes.
behavior in our public spaces.
yes.
And effectively, they have banned street preaching.
Oh,
If they're more like, I think you could probably get away with just like standing there with a sign.
sure.
Right?
Okay.
But if you're sitting there and you're engaging with walkers by, and in particular if you're harassing women, which these guys were,
which they love to do. That's our favorite. Whore of Babylon, they yell.
or saying that God will rain judgment on non-believers, gays, people who dress immodestly, right?
Yes.
So they're yelling at these women,
Right.
Cover up!
They never yell at men about their dress.
No. Anyway, they so the way that they're doing this is they're basically saying that if you are affecting other people's enjoyment of public spaces, you through the use of personal invectives and whatnot, you are creating a nuisance.
Yeah.
And they can remove you from the streets.
Yeah. Because
I think that might be a good thing.
I
think
agree.
it's a good way of like figuring out sort of some free speech balance issues, right?
Because yes, free speech is important.
Yeah.
But harassment is real.
Yeah. You
and
shouldn't just
that's
be able to
not
stand
allowed.
on a street corner and harass walkers by.
Indeed.
You just should not be able to do that.
No.
And we tend in this country to err on the side of, well, yeah, but just let them.
Right.
It's a public space. They can shout if they want to.
Well, our solution seems to be, at least in this city, we corner off an area of the public space where you can do it.
Well,
we find a little corner, we find a little space, and then like, okay, you go over there.
Because most of the stuff that I'm thinking about is during large events where there's going to be tens of thousands of people flooding out of, say, like the Mormon Church's conference center.
Right.
Right.
Which is a delightful time.
Right. And so there's just all these people flooding out. And it used to be...
Just you wouldn't believe the number of bad shoes.
Yeah. But before they started like regulating it a little bit and giving them a space, they could just kind of stand wherever.
Right.
Right. And I think that they were in that way, they were being a nuisance in sort of a different way.
Right.
Now they have them in a corner somewhere.
Yeah.
Not really out of the way.
No.
Like, people are still walking right in front of them.
Right. But they are like fenced off almost.
They're
It's
allowed to
interesting.
like raise their voice, right?
Yeah.
They're allowed to like say things to people.
Yeah, I think some of them have bullhorns or like
Yeah.
small bullhorns and stuff. One guy always loves to like get a Book of Mormon and some like Mormon garments that he got his hands on and like drag them on the ground and be like, "What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it?"
What a dick.
It's such a dick move. And then he'll challenge you. "I dare you to throw my Bible on the ground. I dare you." It's like, okay, I'll throw a Bible on the ground.
That just seems unnecessary.
He's
just
I mean,
a
what he's
combative
doing is
fool.
declaring himself not a serious person, but solely a provocateur.
Yeah.
That's all I care about is provoking you.
Yeah.
I don't really care about my message. I don't really care about, I just want to provoke Mormons.
He's a real life troll.
Yeah.
He doesn't hide in the corners of the internet.
No.
That man gets out there and he
his money is very much where his mouth is.
he has a little bit of my respect. I think he's going about it the wrong way. I think he's misguided. I think he's being offensive.
He's being a jerk.
But
He's not one of those.
he's not shying away from it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's willing to put his face on his...
Assholery?
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Dickhead. All right. Hey, speaking of dickheads, I've got
That's
a
a
lovely
great transition.
Thank you. Do you remember the 80s?
Some of it.
So
It's really just a blur.
kind of a blur, yeah.
A cocaine blur.
You know, we did elementary school differently back then. But there was a name that was a big name back in the 80s, Uri Geller. Do you remember this guy?
I do remember the name Uri Geller.
He was
Was he a TV psychic?
he wasn't a TV star. He was the guy. So he was studied by a bunch of like Harvard professors or something, and they believed he had telepathic telekinetic powers.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Bending spoons,
He's the
making
spoon
things
guy.
move.
I know who this is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the big famous thing that happened was that he went on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show.
Right.
And the first time he went on, I think he was able to do all the stuff. He bent the spoons, he did the things. They had him back on, and this time they asked
The Amazing Randy.
the amazing Randy,
Yeah.
our good friend,
Yeah.
to go on, or to just they asked him, how do I make sure that this guy doesn't fake anything?
Yeah.
And all Randy did was coach them on, have your own props,
Okay.
have all the things that he would need, but make sure that he doesn't have access to them at all until he's on the air.
Right. Okay.
Just so he can't prepare the props.
Right.
And guess what? His powers went away.
What?
He magically was too weak to perform any of his powers when that happened.
Huh.
Anyway, but believers in Wu are not easily swayed.
Oh no.
So he's still been lurking around for a while now.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of believers. That did kind of decimate the belief in him.
Wow.
Because it's cringy. You can find it on the internet. It is cringy.
Well, isn't it in the Amazing Randy
In the
documentary?
An Honest Liar. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Anyway, he's back.
Okay.
And here's what he's going to do. He is using his telepathic powers.
Oh, yeah.
His ability to enter the minds of others.
Oh my. What?
He's going to personally stop Brexit. He has.
Oh, I wish him well.
Right?
Someone needs to.
Someone needs to. He claims that he met Theresa May, Prime Minister of the UK.
Okay.
He met Theresa May and got into her mind in that meeting.
Oh, okay.
And now he is going to get into her mind. He envisions he loves the number 11. It's magical and mystical. So at 11:11 every morning and every night, he goes into his psychic thing and he envisions her rescinding the Brexit referendum or whatever.
Article 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he is, and he's got some time. They just did an extension thing because it's a goddamn mess out there.
It is such a shit show. Like it's happening over there, and I was paying it sort of the normal amount of attention that I would pay to something like that.
Sure.
But as the deadline has been, getting closer,
And they can't get a
they
deal
just
done.
can't get close. I've been paying a little bit closer attention to it, and I mean, the more you look at it, the more fucked they are.
Oh my God. They are screwed. They made the worst choices they could possibly have made every step of the way. Good job, UK.
Yeah, 5 million people as of recording. So,
Yeah, who knows?
today have signed the online petition to try to revoke Brexit.
Good luck.
Well, I mean, they could do it. The European Court of Justice, or whatever their high court is called, ruled back at the end of last year that Britain can unilaterally decide. So at the beginning, the EU was saying, no, you've chosen this. Now you have to go through. Well, their high court said, no, actually not. If they unilaterally decided to go forward with this, they can also unilaterally back out of it.
Interesting.
We do not. We can't hold them to just the initial decision. If they decide before the deadline, they can back out.
Well, Geller...
So Britain can. Britain could hold a referendum or just decide.
Right.
Because the first referendum was non-binding to begin with.
Right. Well...
Like, just decide not to do it.
Geller's working on
it. It's so crazy. And I know I don't know all the nuance of the whole thing.
Right.
We'll probably get some
emails
from across the pond.
Sure.
But nonetheless, it just undo it and figure out how to undo it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah. No matter
Yuri
what,
Geller
they get the worst of all possible worlds. But Yuri's going to save us.
Oh, thank God.
An Israeli psychic to the rescue.
He's just going to bend he's going to bend all the spoons in the nation.
That's right.
Nobody can stir their tea.
That's right. Once you
collapse of society.
Once you realize that your spoons are fucked, you're going to acquiesce to his will. Well, if you are in the UK and you either want to set us straight or tell us about your spoons going wonky, you can write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
That's country code 1 if you're...
That's true. You could call direct.
Yes.
Yep.
Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click on that like button.
Or while you're there,
or
search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we will let you in.
Indeed.
Dan,
Hello.
how do you feel about tornadoes?
Well, I rebuke them in the strongest of terms.
Go away! How dare you,
Shame on you.
tornado?
Do you see, first of all, they start out as what is informally known in meteorological terms as immodest clouds
Immodest?
because they kind of look like a boob.
Oh my!
And
Wow!
so they start out rude.
It's just terribly rude.
And then they go and they beat up people's homes and things, and that's just not nice.
Well, one Mr. Bobby Connor,
Oh,
Prophet Bobby Connor,
yes, indeed.
was recently on the
Jim Baker show.
Yeah. And he has a tale to tell about a recent experience that he had with a tornado.
Which can only be true, everyone. So
It's completely true.
he is a man of God. He would not lie.
I got on a plane. We flew out of Albany, Oregon, down to Oklahoma City, and we go straight to the church. And a terrible tornado starts coming. A terrible tornado. And so I just got to the building, and one of the men on a smartphone had a Doppler radar, and he says, "Pastor, there's a tornado coming. It's headed straight for this building." And so here's what happened. The Lord said, "Bobby, if you don't get up and rebuke this tornado, I'm going to send a tornado, blow the building away, hurt a lot of people, and hold you responsible."
Oh my goodness.
So, now watch out. I said, "Okay, God." Now, I said, "Okay, if you really want me to get up there and prophesy, I want you to speak to me." I opened the Bible just like this and stuck my finger down there just like that. And I looked down and it said, "Son of man, get up and prophesy to the winds." Yeah. So I got up and prophesied to the winds, and you can get it. It's in the world. It's in the film of the Weather Channel. When the prayer goes up to bind the tornado's coming down like that, it stops in midair, reverses its rotation, goes back up. The world record people said that it happened one other time in human history. Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that amazing?
Is he going to get into Guinness Book of World Record?
Yeah,
I would love that.
The world record people. He's clearly in communication with them.
He's rebuked a tornado, and it worked.
And it reversed its direction,
Yeah.
which that does seem impressive.
That is.
You've already got a vortex going,
Yeah.
and then it just decides to go the other way.
I think he just saw some film in reverse.
I think he
did
saw.
not
He
do this.
remembers the original Christopher Reeve Superman movie, and he thought, well, you just reverse the direction,
Yeah.
and then
Boy, the good Lord. The good Lord, when the good Lord wants to do something, the good Lord does it.
let me tell you something.
But you do need to get in there. You got to get in the mix.
Yeah.
Because, because basically his version of God here, right, is like, I'm coming at you. You better stop it, or I'm blaming you for all the damage and deaths.
Yeah.
It might as well be like somebody like, with a gun to your head.
Yeah. Well,
You better convince me not to shoot you, or else it's all on you.
It's your fault. If you don't say the right magic words.
But Jesus, you're the one pulling the trigger. You're kind of being a dick.
Right. Not only that, but like, what about all of these thousands of other preachers, because it's happened plenty, who have gone out to rebuke a goddamn tornado.
I just get sucked up into it.
Just a terrible tornado, a terrible one.
just
And this
seems so angry.
and then and then, houses and stuff was still destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
It's just if this worked, why is the most religious part of our country the most plagued by tornadoes?
Because the Lord uses tornadoes to test people. That's why. He tests the faithful.
Here's what I do.
And so he doesn't send them here, Dan.
No.
Right.
No.
Because we're not faithful.
He sent one here.
Yeah.
And it
kind of did some damage to the Delta Center.
broke the gay bar.
And it broke a gay bar. That's true.
That was
sad.
That was sad.
That was before I lived in Salt Lake.
I will say, I don't know. Rebuking the weather, I wish I could rebuke the weather. Here's what I will say. I believe in my heart that he has prophesied to the winds, that his prophecies are about as worthwhile as something that you would just say to the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very likely.
Very easy to tell this kind of story backwards. Very easy to say, guess what I did before,
right,
as opposed to I will do,
right?
Because we've seen that people say I'm going to rebuke this storm, this hurricane, this whatever.
Right.
Doesn't turn out well.
Yeah.
Doesn't turn out well. But easy to go to say, oh, remember that tornado that didn't destroy our church? That was me. Just so you know.
The Lord helped out a little bit, but
he
wouldn't have done it if I hadn't asked.
Yeah, exactly. Everything would have gotten ruined. That was me. I did that.
Nice.
You know all the tornadoes that don't come to Salt Lake?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, is that you?
That's me. I'm doing that.
I've been wondering who's been doing it.
I've been doing that the whole time.
Oh, Dan, thank you.
I was out of town. This is true. I was out of town when the tornado hit here. Coincidence? I think not.
Wow. That whole time that we were driving through the South, Dan?
Was there any tornadoes?
There were no tornadoes.
Boom, baby.
That's pretty amazing.
You're welcome.
Huh.
Just saying.
Huh. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got one that he's rebuked. Who knows how many I've done? They just don't ever come here.
They're so... They know not even to try.
They don't. They know. Every now and then a tornado's like, what if I went over? Nah,
that's that.
Not even worth it.
That's Dan Beecher's town.
It's my territory.
Oh wait! He's traveling. Quick!
Get one in. And they did a good one.
I would say, Dan, if every time you left town there was a tornado,
that would be.
I would probably believe you.
More convincing.
Yeah,
you're lucky that my rebukes last for a good period of time. I was gone for an entire summer, the summer that happened. So
yeah,
I think my rebuke had worn off a little bit, and I was younger. I wasn't as good at it as I am now. Now I can leave for longer periods, and the tornadoes still don't come back.
I'm sure.
So here's the deal. We're recording this week's show a little bit earlier than we normally would, which means that we do not know who will have written into us
right
by the time we would have normally recorded.
Yeah.
Or who would have donated to us or any of that stuff.
True.
So what I'm going to do, we're not going to have any of those regular.
We're just going to hold off until next week's show.
Next week's show.
We will be recording it our normal time.
You know, it'd be great is if you guys all wanted to write into us and donate to us, so that we have a whole bunch of things, like just overwhelm us.
Yeah.
For next week.
We're actually pretty close to one of our next goals.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, if you guys wanted to help us get to the next goal, that would be really cool.
Yeah, you know what? That would be actually delightful. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to do that, you can still do it. Just because we're not thanking anybody this week doesn't mean that you won't get thanked. Well, you will. Just hang out. But yes, go to thankgodimatheist.com. You can click the Patreon thing, and you can just go there and donate and show your love.
It would be much appreciated.
And we'll show our love back at you.
Yeah. And then I guess with no further ado, I mean, I guess I could thank our Lords and Saviors.
The Lords and Saviors, sure.
Because they're still around.
Well, I mean, we know what those are for right now. So we can just thank them.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we got Josh.
Yeah.
Or Jash.
Yes.
Scott, Melissa, Dee, Hannah, Liz, and Judy.
Well, praise be to all of y'all. you are a sustaining force in our lives, and we sure do appreciate it. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Here's the deal. I've been thinking a lot about this whole gender thing, Frank.
Oh, really?
You know how there are genders still in the world? Maybe that goes
Genders
away
that- I don't know.
as a concept. I don't know.
Who can say?
Who can predict how people
I
100
would
years
say
from
we'll
now?
probably enter a period of more gender before there's less gender.
Yes, indeed.
That's what I think's going to happen.
Well, it seems to already be happening.
Then I'm right.
Well, congratulations.
If you get to say that you've rebuked net tornadoes,
Yes, indeed. You.
then I am right about this one.
You're a gender prophet, is what you are.
I would love to be a gender prophet.
You are. And now you can go to each of the babies as they're born in the in the hospital and tell the parents what their gender will actually be.
Cisgender
Cisgender male.
male, cisgender female,
Uh-huh.
trans man,
Interesting. Yeah.
trans woman.
You're just blessing each of the children with their own gender, with whatever it will turn out to be.
They.
That's right. So here's the thing. I thought I was pretty cool on the whole trans thing. I've done a lot of internal work. I mean, obviously, as a young Mormon boy, I was not cool with trans stuff. Back in the 90s when
It was there wasn't a lot of information.
no, and
There
it
wasn't a lot of opportunity for you probably didn't know that you knew anybody.
definitely not.
You know,
100% not. And,
If you
and
did.
so it was mainly just sort of jokes, sort of uncomfortable jokes.
mean-spirited jokes.
Some not as mean-spirited, some just like, we're all uncomfortable with this and let's just have humor about it. So like some of it was just, I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's body. There was a lot of trapped in a body jokes or whatever. But then there was also like, they were villains of shows. So,
Yeah.
there were plenty of movies where the villain turned out to be trans. There was the Crying Game where we all just went, "Blah!"
Yeah. There was the diner, the local diner
Oh, yes, here in town.
here in town.
That-
That had probably not a nice nickname because of a transgender host.
Yes, they had a trans
worked there.
host, but like, yeah,
Everybody had a not nice nickname for
Yes,
that one
indeed.
particular diner.
yeah, which that has changed now. Now we're both aware of multiple, of places where there are trans hosts, and they're delightful and they're treated well.
Yeah.
So things have changed a lot in the conversation about gender, about trans issues. I was thinking I was pretty woke about the whole trans thing. And then the kids started doing their non-conforming as they do. They started doing their gender fluidity thing. And I started to get, I started to turn into curmudgeon a little bit. Like my brain was still struggling a little bit with that. And
Okay.
a friend of mine, some friends of mine, their kid, who's now in college,
Okay.
decided, assigned male at birth.
Uh-huh.
This child, and we all called this person him and he. This was what we used, the pronouns that we used for this person. We're now using they.
Okay.
They decided that they weren't happy with male.
Okay.
And at one point they were talking about transitioning, a
Okay.
full transition.
Uh-huh.
And then they stopped talking about full transition and just started talking about non-binary. And started talking about and one of the things that they talked about, and this made me very uncomfortable, was that they are interested in dating women, and as a male, they were not getting much headway with the women that they were interested in.
Yeah.
So when they went more femme, when they started to be much more feminine, started to wear makeup, started to have long hair, paint the nails or whatever, they suddenly found a lot more interesting interaction with the people that they were attracted to.
Aha. Okay.
So I was like, that's not real trans. You're not trans.
Oh, Dan.
Part of me, my brain was fighting this thing. You're not trans. I know trans people. Trans need.
It's this one thing that I understand.
Thing that I understand. Look, you're either male or you're female, but
and
you're not necessarily
dare you
that.
do something I don't understand.
And I struggled.
you?
I did. I struggled for a while, and it was like I was like, oh, they're just performing.
That's where you're low.
This
Yeah, okay.
gender thing,
right?
So that they can get pussy. You're just performing a gender thing to try and get laid.
And I hear everybody screaming right now, Dan.
Right. Well,
gender is a performance.
Correct. Okay, so that's what we've come to. And believe me, not everyone is screaming that. A lot of people are understanding where I'm coming from.
Okay. There are plenty of people out there screaming, but gender's a performance.
Right. And that's what it took me.
Come on, man.
It was fascinating how long it took me to realize, oh shit, I'm performing gender. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, gender is largely performative. I don't know why it took me so long, because I did know that. I did have that understanding.
Yeah.
But it felt offensive the way this kid, who has always been a provocateur anyway, like this kid was always like trying to rankle everybody with their new, whatever the latest, I'm going to blow their minds, whatever. It always, and all of that always felt performative.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like, oh, they're just doing another performance of rebellion or whatever.
Right.
And then when it came down to, so why don't you explain, Frank? What do you mean by all gender is performative?
Well, if you,
because there are lots of people listening who are like, what?
If you as a cisgender heterosexual male, or just a cisgender male, period,
Which I am,
which we both are, and you've ever felt the need to act a certain way or not act a certain way,
right?
You just performed your gender.
Yeah, if you ever felt like I got to be manly, I'm going to man up.
Yeah.
Or if you felt like I don't that felt femmy. I don't want to be that.
Right.
Or if you decide that you do want to be femmy.
Right.
All of it is performing a gender.
Yeah, and it's totally fine. It's totally cool. It's just it was literally what we all do.
Right.
And we all pick and choose on a conscious or subconscious level how we identify as our gender. So for me as a man, how do I interact with the world? How do I present myself to the world?
Right.
And the world that we are moving toward, obviously you have a lot more freedom in that decision. And if there's a way that you're more comfortable with, being who you are, right, being true to the person that you naturally are. Like,
well,
if
and
you're
also going and getting what you want,
right? But let's say you are an emotional person,
and I am,
right, and you're prone to crying
at the movies
or something along those lines.
Yeah.
If you're a man,
right,
you don't do that.
It's so fun. I battle that all the time still.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person who cries at movies. I'm a person who cries at plays. I don't want to be, though, because it feels like people will judge me.
Yeah.
As a man, it feels like people. Now, I certainly don't go to the lengths of crying that my wife does, because
blubbering.
That woman is a weeper. That woman, if she's at home and something hits her, she will sob, like audible sobbing.
I've done that alone.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Oh, I remember what movie really, really hit me hard.
Yeah?
I thought it was just so beautiful. And it really just left me just fully emotionally moved.
Yeah.
To the point where I just needed to let it all out.
You needed a cleansing.
Yeah, I needed a soul
what was it?
rinse.
A soul
I needed
rinse.
a soul rinse.
Yeah, you did.
God,
What was the movie?
that Muppets movie.
You son of a bitch.
No, it wasn't. No, Boyhood really got me.
Interesting.
I thought it was like, as it was wrapping up, I just thought that it was just such an epic work.
Yeah.
That I just witnessed something that was unique and beautiful.
Yeah.
And that I'd never seen before. Right.
Yeah.
And I was very emotional about that, and I just let it out. But if somebody else had been in the room, probably not.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Isn't
funny.
that fucked up? That's just fucked up. I
It
should
is
be allowed
fucked up.
to express those emotions. But my guess is there's probably, probably a lot of people in this world who aren't my brand of male,
Right.
who would kind of temper their emotional
Well, sure, and I know women who don't want to be seen crying in movies too.
Right.
But I mean, we were trained, especially our generation, especially we were trained, and before definitely, trained how to masculine. And if you didn't, the social consequences of not masculining correctly were strong, and they were instituted early, like 5 years old. We knew that we shouldn't be crying at things and various. I remember being in high school going to a movie. The movie was, what was the Anthony Hopkins one about C.S. Lewis? Do you remember that one?
No.
Anyway,
C.S. Lewis.
isn't it C.S. Not? Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway, there's a scene where Surprised by Joy was the book that it was based. Anyway. But there's a scene, he loses his wife, and there's a scene where he is in an attic with a little boy, and he just breaks down crying.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that hit me like a ton of bricks. But I was with a bunch of friends, and we were teenagers,
Right.
and it was like, I am not going to cry, and I'm holding it together. And I got home, and my friends all dropped me off at home, and I didn't go in the house. I went into my garage, and I closed the garage door, and I wept in the garage.
Oh, wow.
I hid from everybody. I went to the only place that I could find to hide, and I sobbed.
Oh, little Danny Beecher.
Yeah. So I mean, it's so interesting. Like, yes, I performed masculine for as long as I could.
Right.
Before I found a nice hidey hole to no longer have to do the performance.
Right.
And to actually just express what I wanted to express.
So that's what we mean by performing gender.
Yeah.
How does this tie into kind of our religious discussion about...
Well, here's an interesting thing. I have recently done quite a bit of research about masculine performance and about masculinity and how we as men are in a problematic point. Men, you hear everyone agrees that men especially in the United States, but men in this moment in history, there's a problem with men. Men are committing all of the violence, or the vast majority of the violence. Men are dying earlier than women, and we can't really seem to put our finger on why. We
don't cry enough.
Well, maybe we don't cleanse our souls.
Our soul rinses do not happen regularly.
That's probably part of it.
It's
literally we need to actually like express emotion. And we're trained not to. Anyway, not everybody agrees with our conclusions as to what the cure for men is. Everybody agrees. Men commit suicide at a much higher rate in middle age than women do, and And so I've been looking at
okay.
a whole bunch of groups that get together.
Yeah, and I was just thinking we need some groups
Yes.
where men can get together and just be men, Dan.
There do
Where-
need to be groups.
Where, I don't know, like back in the 90s, it was like drum circles or whatever, right?
yeah.
Like you'd go out into the woods and you'd bang on drums and you would howl your
Howl at the moon.
yeah, all that kind of crap.
All the men would get naked in front of each other and just be okay with. But that was like the hippy dippy version.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the reclaiming masculinity thing.
No.
Yes, and it's all about being. Men have lost their essential manliness.
Oh no, they're doubling down.
They're 100% doubling down. There's one locally that was started by a very annoying author who happens to live here who got some. He was a bestseller for a little minute.
Okay.
There's one called Tribe of Kings,
Gross.
spelled with a Y. One of those words is
grosser.
spelled with a Y.
Gross.
And-
Probably both.
Yeah,
I'd like it if both were.
Yes, exactly. Let's just every letter in Tribe of Kings is a Y.
Tri-beakings.
Shadowlands. I think that was the movie I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
I think I found
I'm
it.
glad you figured that out.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Anywho, all of these what I've discovered, and I've gone and I've listened to a bunch of the podcasts from these guys, and I've read their blogs and whatever. By the way, just ignore them. They're the worst. They are the absolute worst. All of these, the art of manhood and man and blah, blah, blah. They're just all of the wrong conclusions, all of the wrong ideas.
Yeah.
And none of them on the surface seem to be, maybe not none, but the big ones that I found don't have any religious affiliation. The masthead doesn't say anything about Christian or whatever.
Right.
But when you dig in, when you start to listen to them,
Uh-oh.
they all are. They are all religious. And it's and it's very clear that they are trying to bolster their sense of masculinity comes from a fucking Bronze Age book. When you dig down to the very bedrock,
Right.
it's this religious indoctrination. It's this need. It all comes from their religion.
Yeah. Wow.
And it that's who's fighting trans rights. That's who's fighting all of this stuff. The most vociferously are just people who need for gender to line up with their damn book. Their stupid 2,000-year-old doesn't understand anything about how the world works book.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It's not terribly surprising.
No.
And I'm sure there's some sort of like a little vicious cycle here, right? Of like, I mean, it feeds on itself.
Right.
Right. Like there's change in society, specifically on this issue, everything that we've kind of been talking about. And they have their own idea and they have their own craziness, and then they go find it in the book.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they use that to prop them up. But of course they got their first original ideas from the stupid book. It just sits there and just feeds.
Yeah,
feeds.
Well, and it's just like
and their
everything,
fear.
like
It's all
everything in
just-
religion, it has to regress
Yeah.
back to
yeah.
this sort of because what religion ends up being about is freezing ideas in space and time,
Right.
and never changing them until you absolutely have to, and then you begrudgingly do.
Right.
But it's not to do with reality.
Right.
It's not to do with how humans actually work. It's to do with this idealized, not real way that humans work. And for whatever reason, humans have put up with it for thousands of years. It's
easy, and it feeds into our baser instincts.
Well, and it was
Right.
so much easier. Like, the people who are in power have always been the ones who are cisgender, who are, the majority rules, and whoever's strongest wins. And so the most masculine guy is the guy that gets to decide what masculinity is about, because he can beat up everybody who isn't his way.
Well, yeah. If you want to be in charge, then you have to figure out how to beat him up.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So now that science is looking at things and people are actually like asking real questions about what human gender is all about and what it really is,
Right.
suddenly we're believing that instead of the dumb book. And
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, more and more we are.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, it's a real challenge.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you have to do some hard work on yourself.
You do.
Right. Like keeping up with, where society is going is just not an easy thing. And it gets harder every year you get older. Or
Yeah.
At least, like in some ways it's easier, like because I feel like I've opened myself up more. But in other ways it's harder because it's like, okay, now we're doing this.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, I wasn't expecting that. All right, cool.
Well,
and
like, as we get older, we want to calcify. We want to stop.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole they thing caught me completely off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I was just like, wait, what? You want me to do what with this language?
Right.
Right? Like,
But they already has a meaning and it's plural, and I get confused easily.
I know. I mean, unfortunately,
I think the they is an inelegant solution.
it is an I long for a better,
non-gendered
more,
pronoun system.
Yeah, exactly.
So do I. Desperately.
How do you do that? It's at the core of the language. Like you have to like.
There is a non-gendered pronoun. It's just that nobody wants to be referred to as it.
Well, and yeah, it's dehumanizing.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, but it is.
But it is. And so,
our current understanding, our current impression of that word, is that it's for objects,
right? And it's
right?
and it's.
I mean, some people don't even like technically, unless you know the animal, you call it.
Yeah.
That's how I was taught.
Yeah.
Dogs and cats.
Yeah.
Unless it's your pet.
What's its name?
Yeah.
Barbara. Oh, so it's a girl?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Who names their cat Barbara? By the way, name your cat Barbara. That's I love
Barbara
that.
the cat.
Barbara if it's a girl, Greg if it's a boy.
Yeah. But nonetheless, like, it's I completely get why why people chose to go that direction with the pronouns. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well,
yeah, with each step, we old folks, we're now the old folks,
barely,
but we're there,
approaching.
I mean, yeah,
not really.
Well, here's the thing: we're okay with they, but we grumble. Like I call this,
It's not like all young people are cool with this.
No, I know. It's just look. Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe
larger percentage of them are, but like,
yeah, they very much are. They're much cooler with this than we are.
But again,
anyway, I guess the point is, get right with it. Yeah.
Yep.
We if there's one advantage that we as atheists have over the religious right, it's that we get to change.
Uh-huh.
Like we're under no obligation to stay to keep bad ideas.
Right.
So I've abandoned my my complaint about the performative nature of my friend's kid, and go ahead, gender as you please, for whatever reason you need to.
Yeah.
And that's where that's I don't know, that's a good thing to ask.
Good place to be, Dan.
Yes, I agree. All right. Well, listen. If you need to tell us why we're wrong about this, or why we're right about this, go ahead and write into us. podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
And while on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It's a closed group, but we will let you in. Also check us out on Reddit. Subreddit is TGI Atheist. And on Twitter, same thing.
Yes. Hey, speaking of all of the social media, thanks so much to Mackenzie for all of her hard work on the Facebook page, and thanks to Danny and Amy for being moderators on the Members Only Lounge.
And a big thanks goes out to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music, and the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their music.
And thank all of you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.